Sophie, his 13th birthday. Gift? We've got you. Guitar? Coming tomorrow. Road game today, surprise party tomorrow. Change of plans. Game tomorrow.
No, birthday tomorrow.
Hotel! Guitar. Reroute.
Birthdays are on birthdays.
Party? Relocate. UPS My Choice makes rerouting packages easy. How we're helping companies solve for the needs of customers like Sophie.
Yes, again, coming off a tough loss, I mean, to a very good Toledo team. As I look back, it's our first time we've lost 2 in a row for a while, I think, and so you got to come back from that, you know, and get ready for the next game. But I think there's a little bit of perspective you try to keep for those kids, because we've gotten our expectations with our kids have gotten so much higher since I first got here that we've got to go back and just continue to get people well, get some consistency, and get ready for the next ball game. As I told our players, if they can put things kind of in perspective, last year at this time we were sitting 5-5, and we were wondering where we were going, and we went on to have the best one-loss record in history for Division I team at this school. And so we just got to take things one game at a time. But like I say, put that behind us. Toledo had a very good football team. We couldn't slow them down enough on offense, and then we weren't scoring with them enough. We feared that might happen if they could score like they've been scoring. We may not be able to keep up with them. And Tommy's been off and on Woodson here with us since Appalachian State game, and is playing, but we're still not quite as consistent at that position as we have been in the past, as we continue to work forward. But the players have had a good week of practice, and we've got Bowling Green coming up Wednesday night, and they've been in the conference championship. Other than the first year I was here, they've been in the conference championship every single year, and they've been in a bowl game every year. And although their record is not where they would want it, their talent level, the people that are playing are ones we recognize that were on that team last year that was so good. And so they're now beginning to get their kids understanding what the new staff wants them to do. So they're much better than their record indicates, and so we got a battle on our hands. It'll be a great night for our seniors. So it's always an emotional night as you lose some seniors again, and we'll lose a bunch of seniors that have meant a lot to our program. They came into a program. Most of our seniors came into a program that was either 111, 111, 111. And the school didn't have much to offer at that time except a hope and a dream. And, you know, they've already had at least five wins or more in last three seasons, counting the chance to do even more. And so they've already been a great credit to our university, and we're awful proud of our seniors. But being last home game, you'd sure love to go out on a good note with these guys. And so we're excited about that, and I look forward to the game. Yes.
What are you telling these guys with respect to those that you have left right now?
Well, right now, like I said, we've been through some injuries and we got some adversity. Right now, we're just trying to play our best football. I mean, every game that we play is a bowl eligibility situation if you want to go that way. But right now, we're trying to get back to playing our best football, getting people on the field and doing that. But a lot of goals still out there for this football team. And so, but like I say, right now, you want to go out there and play your best football you can against Bowling Green. Seniors have a great goal of leaving this stadium on a good note, and playing as hard as they can and playing as well as they can. And so, you know, the biggest thing that if there's any goal out there, our university in school history has never gone to postseason play 2 years in a row, never. And so for these seniors to have an opportunity to put themselves in a position to go to a postseason play 2 years in a row, that would be quite a goal for them, you know. But when you look at the way, you know, we've got to get back to playing our best football. So I think that's the main goal you want to do is go out there and play your best. Defensively, we've been banged up. We've had a lot of people that aren't playing that played at the beginning of the season. Offensively, that's taken its toll a little bit too. But we're just going to play our best football. But those are all out there.
Specifically, you've never been one to make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
That much I know.
Right.
But how devastating has the defensive injuries been when you're trying to rebuild that unit?
Well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The proof's in the pudding, unfortunately, and statistically, we have not been where we want to be. I think our goal coming in was we were going to reload with some young guys and build, and by mid-season have a chance to be a pretty good football team. And lost Jamel Marcus, and then lost Dante Moore right behind him, then lost Brock Boxon right behind him, then Zach Geiser behind him, and then we've missed Hauser most of the season and DeAndre Scott for several weeks. And so, but those were hard to replace. But you know what? You got to. I mean, there's other people that have injuries, and so what we're trying to do is get people back. Some of those guys will not be back for the rest of the season. But you just gotta reload and get back. Biggest thing we've had some inconsistency at quarterback too, because that's probably been the biggest. When your defense is trying to play a lot of different people, and early on we were able to score with people. We've been able to score with people, and now we've got to get some of that. If that's going to be the case, we've got to hold our end up on both sides of the ball. So I think that's a little bit of both of them, as the defense is trying to improve and get people in there that are playing better. They've had a lot of injuries, and offensively, we've lost a little consistency that we had. But you know, we've got 11 on offense, 11 on defense to line up, and our kids are pretty excited. And like I say, I don't know what every other team has with injuries, but it's affected us a little bit, and we just got to come back and overcome it.
You always talk of coaches in sports. You always talk about next man up. There have been some nice little surprises among the defense.
Mhm.
The Bells, the Davises, the Lakos.
Mhm.
You have to somewhat say, yes, you like to have that experience, but these guys came out and they've been playing pretty well themselves, even though the statistics may
Right.
not see it. But they get to the football. Crazy.
Well, we've got some good young players. You know, you get guys playing 80 snaps or 75 that you wish were playing 15, and that's the way you'd like to see a young guy get his reps in that category. But even like DeMontis Vinkus, who was going into the season probably 15, 20 snaps behind Jamel Marcus and Savon Pittman, and Dante Moore, now he's getting 80 snaps. And, of course, Dante Moore is not getting is out as well. But you just got to line up and go. And like I say, you line up and go. But there are some people that have played well, and we got to continue to get them to play well and go from there.
PG's record is a surprise this
Mhm.
year. What do they do well?
Well, you know, they do. You know what? They're playing very well right now. You watch their record. You watch how they played certain people. Anytime you play Memphis and Ohio State, and they throw a lot of numbers on you, your stats get shot for the year. And you almost have to throw that out and say, okay, but how have they played in and out against everybody else? And they've lost tough game against Eastern Michigan. They lost tough game against Toledo and Ohio. And Northern Illinois got them last week. So they play. They're starting to play better. They again, a new staff, brand new staff. They lost some of the probably the best quarterback in this league, about one of the best in the country last and receivers in the country. And so they've had to do some things differently, but they're playing very well. Just look at the scores they played and the conference teams they played. And even the Miami game, Miami's playing much better now. And Miami in their game went down to the wire, you know, before Miami scored at the end and iced the thing at the end with an extra touchdown. But it was within 7 points going into the last minutes of the game or last 10 minutes of the game. And so they're playing very close to the same teams we're playing very close with now. And so it's going to be a matter of who can line up and play consistent on Saturday. Who lines up and can play consistently on Wednesday will be a key to this game.
One of the keys, I always thought, you don't really look at it, but with Bowden, it's one of their biggest strengths is field position, and they have one of the best punters in the country in Davidson. He
Mhm.
said, what can you do to prepare for
Mhm.
a kicking game like they have? Because they could easily tip a field
Right.
one way or another way. He had an 80-yarder, I think, against
Right.
Toledo and a 75-yarder later in the season. When you have a punter like that, you
Mhm.
can change field position. What can a coach or what can a team
Yeah.
do? Yeah.
Well, the only thing I think is you try to put somebody at punt return that can also change the field position. And I don't think anybody can do it better than JoJo Natson. So on one hand, if you kick too far, you're going to get the ball right to the guy we want to get the ball. And so I think what you'll see, their kicker does a great job, not just kicking conventional kicking. He gets a lot of his great punts on rugby-style kicks. And so it'll be an interesting game because I think he averages 44 yards in punting, and we've got the top punt return in the conference and one of the top ones in the nation in JoJo Natson. So that's an interesting game right there. Do you kick it away from him and reduce the yardage, or do you kick it 44 yards to him? And so it'll be that is an interesting thing. But I think of all the ways to defense that, we've got the best possible means of defensing it and putting somebody back there that can gain some of that yardage back.
Speaking of JoJo,
Mhm.
he's added to the Biletnikoff list. Any thoughts on that?
Well, he's a great guy. I mean, I'm so impressed with JoJo. 5'8", 150. He turns punts and catches the ball, but if he gets banged up early on, you drag himself off some, go right back in. Never misses practice. Been a great quiet leader of this football team, and so he's always a factor out there. I think Jerome Lane makes it better for JoJo because Jerome can make it difficult on people that put too many people toward JoJo, and just like this last game where Jerome made some big plays. But JoJo is very deserving. He can change the momentum of a game very quickly.
You've got 23 seniors,
Mhm.
22 seniors leaving. How much do they remember that shellacking by Bowling Green last year?
Well, everybody remembers that one, I think, because it was so close. But Bowling Green. I think what the senior and everybody remembers Bowling Green. The thing about Bowling Green, the record, some teams in the conference have been on the bottom, and and they're slowly. But Bowling Green's been on top, and you see those numbers, those people that are still playing, that were playing, and you look at the type of losses they've had. So I don't think it's hard not to think of Bowling Green as a conference contender. I don't think that's one that you can easily overlook. I think if you look, we didn't play Eastern Michigan this year, but what a great job that guy has done, that he's done to change that. There a lot of the culture he had to change, like we had at Akron. But Bowling Green, I don't think our players, all they can remember is unless they're a fifth-year senior that saw Kent State back in 2012 play for the championship, it's been Bowling Green in the championship game every time. And so that's what I think it's hard. And then you watch the way they play against Toledo and the way they play against Eastern and all the teams they played, and you see them playing teams very close and just not winning at the end.
What about that game last year you guys played there?
Well, they did to us what they did to a lot of people in this conference. If you remember, it was a nice tight ball game. We had them backed up on like the 2-yard line, and the quarterback threw one for 50 when he couldn't even see the receiver. He was being sacked in the end zone, and he threw a 50-yarder, and he followed that with another 50-yarder, and it was like game over. It was that guy. It was that much. But he was that impressive. But like I say, they still have an awful lot of talent, and their quarterbacks is in sync. He's getting in sync with what they're trying to do, and they like to throw and run it too. So again, they've got a lot. They're doing a lot of things well right now, and it should be a great football game. I think both of us are playing as much as they're 1-7. We're 5-5. Where we are right now, it should be it's a great challenge for both teams.
Coach, you've been through a lot of senior days.
Mhm.
Is there anything special you like to do to honor the seniors this week or before the game?
Well, we do. We have the main thing when you come in, you follow tradition as it's done at that university for seniors, and we have the senior on the field. We do the senior recognition, and I think it's so important to have them and their parents that have been a part of these guys, and I think we enjoy that. Although there have been some of the coldest days of our life that we've stood out there for 15 extra minutes on senior night. It was been unbelievable, some of those nights that we've been out there for senior night in that mess, but it's supposed to be fairly decent on Wednesday night. But it's funny, the one thing we do, our last practice, we run the gauntlet, which is they run through a gauntlet of players and do a final block. And it's funny because it's what I did in high school. Years ago, our coach played in the 40s in college, and that was his way of saying goodbye to the seniors in high school. So it means a lot to me. We're doing the same thing. 40 years later, I'm watching these seniors get their final gauntlet with their own teammates. But Yeah, it's a special group of guys. It's a special group of guys, especially the guys that have been with us the whole time that we've been here. And came in, like I say, the biggest thing is they came into a program where there was nothing to bring them here for except a hope and a dream. And they've done a great job of winning 5 or more of the last 3 games. And one of the biggest problems I think we're all having now is that we've gotten expectations of ourselves and our players up so high. It's tough when you lose 2 games. These guys have created an expectation level here where you have a couple losses, and it's just you got to get out of the dumps. And these kids have gotten out of the dumps, but I said you're getting to that point now where these seniors have done so much, and now they want to do more. Like I said, we just need to go out and play our best football, and then talk about what those goals are after the fact. Because talking about them every week, they don't happen almost. You need to go out and win a ball game, and we'll talk about the goals that are there.
A couple of things, because I haven't seen BG. I know their coach is from Texas Tech.
Right.
So are they still doing that, trying to run a play every 10 seconds?
They run at an elevated pace. I just don't know that and there's so many people doing it now, and you don't do it much faster than Bowling Green did it before, although he was what I call the Baylor connection, the Art Briles connection. The coach at Bowling Green now is more of a Texas Tech connection, to that style of play, Mike Leach, and they're 2 different kind of styles, except they play fast.
Right.
And so, but that's fairly, we see a good bit of it. People play that. The biggest thing now is they play fast. They play tempo football. You play fast for 4 or 5 plays and play at a normal fast pace, and then a real fast pace and a normal fast pace. So, again, I don't think it's any different than the teams that play it, but they when they do it well, it makes it difficult to get lined up. You have to really stay in your defense and roll when they roll. When they don't sub,
Right.
That's the key.
Then you guess you don't really the art of tackling. You don't practice that during the season. I mean, you just can't afford it.
Well, we do. We got old coach. We got me. I say me. We got us old school guys, and our defensive coordinator believes that tackling is the key. And when you have young players like we do, the tackling is the first thing that goes. When you lose 3 linebackers that were seniors last year, the way we play, they're responsible for so many of our tackles. And all of a sudden you got 3 newcomers, and tackling becomes a factor. But we do try to take 10 minutes every day to work on tackling, form tackling. You just have to be careful not to get people hurt when you're doing it, but we try to work on that. But that's one of the things when you're not playing as well as you like. The one way you can eliminate that is tackling, but a lot of that comes with experience. You learn to tackle by tackling people a lot in the games, and but that's where we're not. I mean, if you look at, you might see our team play 2 years in a row, you'll see the tackling's not as good as it was last year, and it's just unfortunately the same guys are teaching it, and we've got some defensive coaches that have taught tackling for a long time, but we've got to continue to get better at it, because that's where you you're not born with a natural ability to tackle.
And you talk about everybody tempo and throwing the
Right.
ball around, and then old-time Southern football, you see Alabama beat.
We talked.
You see Alabama beat LSU 10-0.
Well, we talked about that in our staff meeting, because when I got to the SEC in '93, if you didn't play football like that, you got run out of town.
Right.
Even if I've often said at Auburn, they would rather run and lose than pass and win. You want to run the football. But what's interesting, though, I think and you're getting into some just here. When the other team is willing to play the same game you are, it gets to be an old-fashioned football game. Alabama in the last 5 years have lost several times to Ole Miss,
Right.
who refuses to play that game. They throw it around high speed, up tempo, throw it to the wideouts, and it beat them 2 out of 3, maybe the last 2 out of 3 years. And but when you got 2 teams that have so much talent that they're going to play that game no matter what, it's enjoyable to watch for an old timer. I don't know if that's enjoyable to new people, but to a guy that's been around like I have, that's enjoyable to watch. To be as good at that as you need to be to win a championship, you need to have a better center than they have a guard, a better guard than they have a defensive guard, a better tackle, a better tight end, a better fullback, because you got to block every one of them. And so when you play that game, that's the game. As long as everybody's played it, as long as you're better at all those positions, you could line up and just wax people. But it is enjoyable to do. But I think the key to me is try to find a good balanced game. All righty.